Welcome back, everybody. We're having a fun pre-chat with Izzy Stevens. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it the way that I said it. As I hear it, it's probably incorrect. I'll just take my. I'm not originally from the United States, so I'll play that card. But please welcome Izzy to the program.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. I want to talk to you about directing. I want to talk to you about your businesses. I want to talk to you about your shorts. But I want to get people to get to know you. So let's start with that, stupid silliness that I just got myself into, of the way that people pronounce your first name, especially when you're traveling abroad. It can probably get to you and get some people into some trouble, right?
I mean, definitely with non-English speakers, they
No.
can get confused and think that my name is Easy, but I just think it's funny, and
Yeah.
that's all right. It happens.
Is that? I mean, is Izzy the official legal name? Is it short for Isabel or?
Yeah, it's short for Isabella.
Okay,
Yeah.
Isabella.
Mhm.
Which, by the way, is one of my favorite all-time names, Isabel. I actually wanted to name my daughter Isabel, and it was like the third. It was in the finals. We ended up with a different name, but
What did you go with?
uh, we originally went with Annabelle, and then we kind of changed that and morphed it into Annette because it was more numerologically
That's
appropriate.
beautiful.
Yeah.
My mum wanted to name me Arabella, and everyone that she
Ooh.
told said, "Oh no, that's a terrible name. Don't go with that name." And so she chose Isabella,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I like both. I'm not really fussed.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Again, it's and my favorite cartoon princess is Belle. So
Yeah.
it was always in the back of my mind when I have a daughter, there's going to be some association. So her middle name is Belle. But yeah, very cool. Okay, so people hear a little bit of an accent. So you were originally from Australia, and then you live here, right? And by here, I'm not talking Chicago. You live in LA, correct?
I do, yeah. I live in
Yeah.
Los Angeles for 3 years.
Yeah. So 3 years ago, you made the move. Why switch? Is it following your brethren and sisterhood of Australian actresses?
Yes. Definitely yes. And also, I'm lucky I'm half American. So my dad is actually from California.
Okay.
He moved over, fell in love with an Australian woman, moved over to Australia. And so it was sort of natural for me. I was working out in Australia for years in television, and it just feels like the natural progression when you're working in Australia to
Yeah.
have a either do trips out here or move. Unfortunately, the Australian film industry, which is growing, is still not doesn't have enough infrastructure to sort of support the amazing talent that I think exists there. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. But I came out a few times for pilot season before I officially moved out here, and then I'm very follow my gut. So I just one day was like, this is the time, and I just booked a flight and got on a plane and showed up.
Yeah, and moving to LA is not. I mean, it is simple from the perspective of anybody can move anywhere. Technically, if you have the proper authorization, but LA is not an easy place to be. You have to have contacts. People. It takes a lot longer for casting directors to get to know you. So, what I'm in Chicago. So what we're always told in Chicago is let the work bring you to LA.
Yeah,
Don't just go to LA. Make sure that you've saturated the market here and then let the work bring you there. So same ideas, or you just decided, you know what, it's my time, I'm going.
that's so smart, and I think that was always the way that I wanted it to play out.
Hmm.
Um, at the time I moved, I had just directed a short film that was in a festival, like in a great festival that by Australian standards,
Hmm.
and is known, globally. It's called Tropfest, and it was a moment where I thought, okay, this is just premiered, and I also had been a lead in the film Occupation. So it was this moment where I had all of this sort of accumulation of projects, and I thought I had great rep out here, and I thought I'm twiddling my thumbs when I could really dive in, and I'm so lucky because I don't have to deal with the same sort of like visa and the costs associated with moving that are can be accumulated if you're not actually a
Yeah.
citizen. So I also had friends out here in the support network. So I was like, you know what, let's just go for it. And it's funny because the second that I moved out here, I was brought back home for a press tour for the film and then for filming the sequel. And I thought, this is so classic that I come out here and I'm ready to establish a life in Australia. It's like, whoa, 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 coming back. So I think that I was just sort of ready to step away from one one gig a year, and I wanted to sort of feel like I was more invested in my career. And I think you can really get frustrated. So
Sure.
I was just ready to sort of make that jump, and I had enough work, I think, under my belt to sort of go, okay, let's get me in a room, because I know if I get into a room, it's no problem, but it's the getting there, that's really
Yeah.
hard, as I'm sure you understand.
Yeah, and the fun part usually with actors that I talk to that finally get to LA is that once they get to LA, they start getting projects somewhere else.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so how long did it take you to get into a room where you finally got settled in?
Into like a casting room.
Yeah, in costume room.
I started auditioning straight away when I got here, and
Mhm.
it's been uh it's been like, obviously I came over pretty much right before the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And so it was an interesting journey, but a lot happened in the year before COVID.
Yeah.
And the thing about, uh, you know, we say like, oh, it takes 10 years to create an overnight success.
Yeah.
There are these ways that you go through this journey that aren't linear. They're not like, I walked into a room and I auditioned and I booked the role and there it is. It's like,
Mhm.
you play, as you said, casting directors need to know you play this long game. So
Yeah.
it's about those baby steps and making every baby step ripple and count, and being really clever about the way, like, who you're meeting and how you're going about your auditions, who you're targeting. And so I started to really understand that I had already done a lot of that work because I have been auditioning through it over the years, like with pilot season and stuff. And then I found that this last time that I came out, instead of going, oh, we didn't get feedback, or we got this feedback, instead I was getting, callbacks and tests and this kind of stuff. So the funny thing is, like, they always say, oh, if you didn't book the role but you were like pretty close, you're closer to booking the next role. And I know it's like, I don't know, it just all sounds like words, but it's just, there's a negotiation every day of your life as an actor. How are you dealing with your reps? How are you dealing with yourself?
Yeah.
How are you dealing with your mental health? How are you dealing with the material? Are you going to classes? um, it's a lot of it's a lot of stamina. So I think that, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm asking you a question, but yeah, it was an interesting journey, and I think a lot has changed. Like, my life looks completely different to when I first moved out here, and that feels really interesting. And I started booking about a year in. So actually, in the pandemic,
Okay.
I was booking a couple films, which was weird.
And did any of them get shot? Were you able to fit it into the hey, we're open, no, we're closed? Hey,
Right. So it's funny. The lockdowns happened in Los Angeles,
yeah.
I was on hold for this film, and like, we were all just sort of, I just like had this gut feeling that it was mine, because I wasn't panicked about it. I was like, yeah,
Mhm.
there's some things you just know, and you just go, okay, let's see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Right? Because you just never know what's going to happen. But then shutdowns happened, and then there was this like weird 2-week window where everything started opening back up again. Do you remember that? It was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
where, oh, back to normal. And it was like, wait, we're still in the middle of the pandemic, but everyone thought we were just going to get back to normal. And Hollywood was like, okay, rolling cameras. And so I got the call saying, you booked it, like, we're going ahead. You've got to get COVID tested now. We'll be, in the mountains next week filming, for blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And it was like all, full steam ahead. And then right at the last minute, we couldn't end up doing it. So
Yeah.
it was, I'm sure, very disappointing for everybody. But it's just like, you kind of know that that's what's going to happen in a pandemic situation. You're like, I mean, you just have to keep going and assume that it's going to be fine. And then whatever happens, you just go, okay, that happened. But
Yeah.
I actually did end up filming a film during the pandemic,
Nice.
well, like a different one. So that was yeah, I mean, you just never know what's going to happen.
You don't, and that's again to put even more uncertainty into the world of acting, where nothing is linear.
Yeah.
So this is my business that I started during the pandemic because I had
Oh,
nothing better to
cool.
do. I know you started yours. Let's talk about that. What did you do?
Oh, so I was meditating one day
Mhm.
and I had this thought come over me that was like, you know, you there's something that has happened all my life where I feel like I've attracted friends.
Mhm.
Um, I should like rephrase this.
No, you
All,
shouldn't, because I'm all about the law of attraction, and if people are not familiar with it, we'll put a link right below. Look it up. Go ahead.
cool, yeah, love that. Yeah, so I feel like most of my life I've had friends and colleagues come to me and just sort of interested in brainstorming their
Mhm.
ideas with me, like
Yeah.
a TV show or short film or film or whatever it is. People sort of like talking to me about their ideas, and I really love talking to people about their ideas. So I think they just feel that from me. I'm like, yes, like that can totally be made. What's the budget? What are you feeling? Let's make this happen. So I'm really interested in collective ideas and collaborating with people,
Yeah.
and I feel like as I've progressed in my career, I've had more and more instances where I've felt really aligned in that space and really good in a dialogue with people about their stuff. And I also have tend to have a bit of a skill which of um, once I set my mind to it, I'm
Mhm.
going to make it happen. And so I think a lot of people struggle with like pushing past the idea phase or just pushing past the script phase and actually doing it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like, there's so many things in the mix. Like there's resistance, there's fear, there's frustration, there's I don't know enough people, I don't have money, all of this stuff
Yeah.
that stops you very easily and understandably. And what I do is actually coach people through those and say, let's take your script to the screen and let's get you the career traction that you want. Let's skirt the regular way of doing things that the
Yeah.
industry decides this is how you be successful.
Yeah.
And let's create success on your own terms with your voice. So I help people go from script to screen and stop waiting for some big break and so they can be celebrated.
Yeah, that's wonderful. First of all, thank you for doing that, because people do need that, and um, they need someone. I'm a huge believer in coaching, and in terms of productivity, in terms of getting organized. I went from I was the dreamer, talker, lazy, disorganized. That was me, and then over the years, more and more, especially the last number of months, it's this uber productivity, uber getting down to a very fine level detail of what are we trying to do? Let's break it up. Let's break it down. Let's break it down. What do I need to do on a day by day basis in order to hit that goal? Let's eliminate all the stuff that doesn't matter. Like I went into completely different spectrum. And if it wasn't for courses that I was taking and people that I was talking to, I wouldn't have gotten here. And I think I've achieved more in the last number of years than I have in the previous 20.
Wow,
So
congratulations.
thankfully, thank you, I appreciate that. But that's why you're so important for the people that you're working with, because you can help them get there. And like that skill, yes, we're talking about this industry and getting it from script to screen, but it's a life skill that they can apply to everything from
Yeah.
there on. Yeah.
That's how I feel too, and I think that there's a lot of things that come along with making your own work.
Mhm.
There's this frustration that artists can tend to feel, especially actors, because we always feel like we need permission to
Yeah.
do what we feel we're born to do,
Yep.
and that can create so many frustrations and barriers in your life where you're just like, well, I guess I'll just wait for the phone to ring. And the changes that I see my clients go through just simply by like making a film from the beginning to the end
Yeah.
isn't just like, oh, I've made a film and now it's in a festival and now I'm getting celebrated. It's like a whole different person emerges where they're like, I
Yeah.
have ownership, I have control over my life, I feel inspired, and I'm working with people that I find interesting.
Yeah.
And it really like it lights me up. Like it makes me very, very happy to have sessions with my clients where at the end they're just like mind blown because they finally can see themselves in a way that they're now valuable, rather than just feeling like, oh, I guess I'll just do another self tape and no one's going to call me about it, which is frustrating. And it's real. It happens to us all the time.
And then guess what? The other part that comes in, and again, law of attraction, that we can tie things nicely into it. But once the person goes through that process and they change, then as an actor, you're going to go into a room and you'll present differently. Your energy is completely different, and all of a sudden you're going to start booking, and you're like, "What happened? I didn't do anything. I'm different." Yes, you are, because they see that confidence. They see that. Change, and
Yeah,
it resonates. It's a huge shift.
totally. I
Yeah.
so agree with you. You go from feeling disempowered
Yeah.
to feeling really just like grounded. And it's not just like the creative aspect, it's also the what we do in coaching is like talking about the industry and how to
Mhm.
navigate parts of the industry that, we're always told rules about how to be, how to what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to like linearly move forward as a director or a producer or a writer or an actor, like all of these things that you sort of can make your own rules about, and
Mhm.
people don't like, you know once you start realizing that you can leverage certain things that already are in your life and in your experience.
Mhm.
You probably have one person that knows one person that you could contact that knows a person that can get you in a room. And
Yeah.
it's like, by having someone there to bounce ideas off of and sort of challenge you a little bit, you
Mhm.
can do things that maybe are slightly uncomfortable, but in the long run pay off in such enormous ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and people should. Yeah. It's if people are wondering about how rich people get rich. Rich people get rich because there are seven basic concepts that they're utilizing, and they deal with utilizing somebody else, right? It's other
Network.
people's time, other people's work, other people's money, right? So they're utilizing you in order to help them get to the next level and utilize somebody else to get into that room and make it happen. It starts building a beautiful chain. Um, Very cool. I really am happy about that. So you have this coaching business. You've done directing. You are obviously an actress. Um, is there a favorite? If you view yourself as one versus another, or where do you stand there?
I would say that predominantly I'm an actor director.
Okay.
And I I used to get very frustrated when people would ask me to choose,
Yeah.
um, because I think, I don't know, I think, why should I have to choose? I think I
Yeah.
can do both of those things, and a businesswoman is another one now, and I guess that has been very, that just has felt like a natural progression for me. I'm someone who like naturally gravitates to
Mhm.
leadership roles, and I really enjoy community and I enjoy running a team.
Mhm.
So I think that has happened naturally. And I also think that's the reason why I enjoy directing, because I can see objectively the narrative and find ways to support that through the shots, through through working with the actors. And because I'm an actor, I sort of understand what you need in ways as an actor to sort
Yeah.
of thrive in that space. But I'll always come back to acting because I honestly do sometimes I think um maybe acting was like on the path to this,
Mhm.
and then I'll be on set directing and I'll just think, oh my god, my heart is aching because I miss being on that side of the camera and I really understand this narrative or I really understand this text. Um and both happens when I'm behind the cam when I'm in front of the camera and I'm acting. There's I'm misdirecting, and so it's always like one project, one project, one project, one project, like going back and forth because they both make a lot of sense to me in who I
Mhm.
am, and I really enjoy. I do honestly like enjoy every aspect of the filmmaking process, and I really enjoy working with people and crew, and
Yeah.
so I don't know. It's just I think that I really enjoy like the film storytelling, and I'll find any way to do it, obviously.
No, but I think it's great, and it's also very healthy because it's not one thing, and you're kind of in that
Mm,
linear. It's not a linear progression, but you lock yourself into one box, And from a mental health perspective, the fact that you have other creative outlets that
Yeah.
are still a part of that same journey only allows you to be more refreshed, right? You do directing, then you go do acting, or vice versa. So I think it's a better. It's like you're creating this lava that is moving forward in one direction, but then you have a lot of areas that you can dive into.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, we use dive in for pun intended, but unintended. Very cool. So what's next? What's coming up? What can we see you in, or see something that you've directed shortly?
Yeah, thank you. So right now I just feel like I'm in this moment of like wrapping everything up that I've put
Yeah.
all my energy into. I wonder
Mhm.
if you've had that experience where you've like, I've got 4 or 5 projects that are just just finishing up and just wrapping up and are just about to be into the
Yeah.
world. And so I feel like I'm really at that final push on so many different things. So sometimes I feel like I'm sort of, because I'm bouncing around from different projects. I'm editing 2 films that I directed
Mhm.
as well. I really love editing as well. So I'm like I'm sort of can't, you can't stop me.
Yeah.
um, yeah, so I'm editing 2 of those, and then I've got a film that's just come out called Occupation Rainfall, which is the sequel to
Mhm.
Occupation. So that's just hit US cinemas, which is really exciting.
Very
Um,
cool.
one of the short films I directed called Seafoam, I also acted in, and that'll be finished up soon. I'm working in the sound mix now, and we're doing the final touches. So it's sort of so exciting watching these projects that I've worked for about 4 or 5 months on come into, you know, come into their own,
Reality. Yeah.
show me what they're supposed to be
Mhm.
in this space. And I also have like a secret vampire life where I I am finishing my degree, my film degree that I've been doing for like 10 years, like
Mhm.
forever. And I went to university when I was 18, and then I booked a television role and I left, and then I went back and then I left because I booked another role, and then I moved to Queensland for a role and I had to leave. And
Yeah.
slowly over the past 10 years, I've accumulated credits, and I have also gone through film school and done a diploma. So all of this stuff has now, like when I say I feel like everything's wrapping up, I feel like
Yeah.
I have 2 subjects left of a degree that I've been doing for so long, and I cannot tell you how truly excited I am to have
Yeah.
everything finished and just be able to breathe.
Good. Are you going to take that time to actually breathe and go back and really appreciate what you have done over this period?
Um, I feel like that sounds like what I should do. I should try and do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. I think I'm not very good at stopping, so but I see now how important it is because I'm literally just like in a hamster wheel going,
Yeah.
making creative decisions, trying to make an essay happen, also trying to meditate and exercise like a regular person and just like have a
Yeah.
social life. It's pretty exhausting.
Yeah. Well, it's again all of the beauties of being a successful working woman. But yeah, it's fun. Please do take time, at least a breath, where you can look back and say, "Hey, this is all I've accomplished," because it'll continue driving you forward in your journey ahead to your next steps and next achievements. So it's good to get out of the hamster wheel for at least a bit and understand how successful you've actually been. It's good
Oh, thank you.
for mental health. Yeah.
Very, very kind of you. I think that's important. I think taking breaks for our mental health is like the most important thing we can do. So thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
It's balance. Very cool. Well, Izzy, thank you so much. I pronounced your name correctly. I'm happy with myself. Thank you so much for jumping on. I know you're very busy and you have things to go do. We'll look for the films coming out. We'll make sure that everybody checks out. Everybody go below and make sure that you follow Izzy everywhere. And best of luck to you. I'm very excited to see where this is going to go for you.
Thank you. And best of luck to you as well. Please stay in
Thank you.
touch. You sound like you're such a lovely person. It was really wonderful chatting with you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And
Yeah.
thanks to everybody for tuning in into another episode of Let's Dive In. And I hope you're as inspired as I am to continue driving forward in all of the areas of your life where you feel that ambition, so you can start it and finish it. Take your script to the screen. And if you need help, call Izzy. Take care, everybody.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
My pleasure.